Hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to take a look at this Casio KX101. Now, I featured it recently on the channel, so I'll just give a very quick update to that. Essentially, the previous video showed me receiving this as originally just the main unit with one speaker, and I bought it knowing that there was a speaker missing, and lo and behold, the chap who I bought it from messaged me to say, great news, he's been having to sort out and found the other speaker. Would I like first refusal? So of course I bit his hand off at that, said yes please, and so here is the complete unit. So I'm going to have a bit of a closer look at it today. At least let's just give it a clean and see if we can power it up. But before I do, I'd just like to say a massive thank you to everyone that did watch the previous video, and indeed to my new subscribers. Thank you very much indeed, and welcome on board. I've got loads of stuff on the channel already, massive back catalogue to check out, plus a lot of cool stuff coming up for this year. So it's great to have you on board, and thanks very much again. It's basically down to earth, fairly easy going stuff. Hopefully you can just get to hang out with me and I'll just talk random rubbish as I go, but it should be good fun and we'll figure out a few things along the way. And I did have quite a few comments, so thank you very much indeed for those. And just a few that I'll note here today. Someone did mention that they checked out the original eBay advert that I bought this from, and noticed that one of the patch cables, well, I should say both of them, were present. Now here we've got one that's present and one that's missing. And I mentioned in the previous video that I'll have to find one or fabricate a short patch lead or something, which won't be a massive issue in itself. But as I say, someone did point out that in the original photos for the advert, the other one was indeed present. So I have messaged the seller to see if he knows what might have happened to it between the photos being taken and it actually being dispatched. Didn't occur to me at the time because of course the whole speaker was missing and I just assumed the lead was with it. But you could see on the edge of one of the photos on the original ad that both the patch leads were included. So just to say that I have asked, and hopefully, fingers crossed, the other patch lead will turn up. But again, not the end of the world right now. Someone else did comment in jest that he thought it was a fake video because the thing is just so dirty and so grimy. And I've got to say, I'm sure like you guys, not a massive fan at all. In fact, I can't stand those videos where people sort of daub loads of orange and brown acrylic paint over something and pretend they've dragged it out of a riverbed or something like that. They're just ridiculous, pointless videos. This is legit, which hopefully you'll see today. The dirt, as it starts to be removed, we'll clean it up a bit. And someone else as well did mention it looked like it spent most of its life lying on its back. Well, I guess it has really, although it is dirty on the top surface as well. If you think about it logically, I guess most of the buttons and the controls are on this, what would now be the top side, and of course the keys as well. Ultimately is a keyboard, so it would have lived in this position more often than not. You could put the speakers up as a standalone, you could have them taken off and propped up, but actually if you're playing or recording or doing anything on here, then having the speakers facing you, i.e. left on the unit, is probably a sensible thing to do, and hence why the patch leads are so small for the speakers as they stand. So yeah, it makes sense from a storage point of view, because this thing's only, in fact I can tell you, just grab a quick ruler here, this thing's probably only about, just over 3 inches, 3¼ inches, maybe 80mm deep, so there's nothing to it in that respect. So from a point of view of putting it on an actual on a shelf or putting it on a stand or somewhere out the way, it would make far more sense to stand it upright. But obviously if it's being used, it makes far more sense to have it laid down. And that's probably, it's been left on a shelf somewhere, maybe in the back of a workshop or an office, or it probably has actually just been laid on a shelf or something like that, and that's why it's so grotty. Anyway, speaking of which, I think the first thing I want to do today is just to see if we can peel some of this gunk off. My hands have gone all dry and dusty and dirty just even in this brief intro, so I think now's the time to give this a bit of a clean. There's a lot we're not going to be able to do. Of course, the paint has worn off some of the keys. That's a job for another day, or we may just leave that as part of the original patina. Also, what happens quite a lot on old boom boxes and that sort of thing is you find that you get blistering under the lacquer. So some of these, where they're pretty rough, it's actually lacquer that's gone, and indeed that looks like the lacquer's come off the top of the microphone covers and stuff like that. So we've got to be realistic about this. You know, it's never going to win any shows, but if we can at least get it nice and clean, that'll be half the battle. And then I think I'm going to try and plug it in and see if we can get it to power up. Right then, enough jibber jabber. Let's start getting some of this grime off. Okay, so it's had a fairly decent clean now. Nothing crazy, far from the final reveal. I mean, we haven't even opened the thing yet, but at least it allows us to see what we're up against, what we've got. And you can see it reflected a bit nicer now. It looks a bit more presentable. It's going to be generally a nicer thing to have around the place. But most importantly, it also just keeps it nice and clean so that when we're handling it and try to disassemble it, it's not going to be too grimy. So first thing I want to do now then is plug it in, see if this thing even powers up. There's the power switch then. Let's see what happens. Nothing as far as I can see. No signs of life. Let me put the jack plug back into the speaker. Yeah, I can't hear any speaker pops or anything like that. What have we got here? Mono stereo. There's your bandwidth selector switch, tape, keyboard, line in. Yeah, nothing there at all. Alrighty. It looks like she's stone cold gone at the moment. Alright. Nothing to do with the timer. I wondered if that was anything to why it wasn't coming on. Doesn't look like there's anything there, so I'm going to crack it open and see what the problem is inside. Hopefully we can fire it up on the board directly. So first thing I'm going to do, I think, is just get rid of this other speaker. And what have we got here? Right, bit of sellotape with a bit of broken plastic on it. I'm not sure what that's from. Right, we've got some rusty battery terminals. Just going to start tackling... Hang on, what's this here? There's a power supply here by the looks of it. So this must be where the battery supply, sorry, the main power transformer lives. I don't want to force anything. It looks like there's a multi-plug. You might not see that, but it looks like there's a multi-plug in there, which is stopping that from coming away, I think. Yeah, I'm not going to force anything. Okie dokie. I'm guessing in reality we've probably got to take... Yeah, probably got to take all those knobs off the front and those sliders. But first up, we'll get the chassis screws out. Oh, small one in the battery compartment, long one over there. Medium one in that corner. Have to make sure we don't mix these up. I may not have needed to remove that. That's probably for something else. Anyway, it's done now. Right, okie dokie, let's do this then. Assuming these knobs come off, of course. Well, that one did. 2. Right. This might take a while. Okay. I think we can have some fun with these, aren't we? Right, well, I'm going to go ahead and slowly pick all of these knobs off, because I think we're going to have to get the whole faceplate off before we can get inside. I won't bore you with that now, because these are going to be quite tricky, but I'll be back shortly. Okay, I think that's all of the knobs and switch tips and what have you off now. I just gave them a little bit of a soak with some penetrating fluid to help them, because some of them were particularly stuck on, but managed to get them going anyway. And then when I turned it back over, I noticed that the power pack had almost come away, and it was indeed held on by a multi-plug. There's not much, I couldn't really get in there to show you, but essentially there's a little multi-plug that goes in tight there, and this is the first time I'm looking at it as well. Basically it plugs into the pack and like so you'd unscrew that, undo the multi-plug, which I just got a little screwdriver just to pop the plug away, and there is the transformer. So the question then remains, is the issue with the transformer itself, either the primary windings or the secondary, or maybe the actual diodes and the bridge rectifier on this? I did do a video actually with a RC838 that had issues as well, and I replaced the transformer in that, so do check that out. It could also be something as simple as the fuse though. But first off, what I'm going to try and do anyway, see if I can find out which are the actual power leads, the secondaries to the unit, see if I can't just power this up, perhaps even from here. Might be a bit ambitious, but might be worth a look. Right, let's see if we can get this thing open, shall we? One more screw just in its back corner, just a small one, and that lived underneath the battery pack, so I'm hopeful. Let's just eject that door again. Let's just see. Yeah, still not coming. Oh no, there we go. Right, okie dokie guys, here we go then, the moment of truth. Okay, so what have we got? Okie dokie, so the first thing we can see is a great big shield on here, which you may see partially disintegrated, some corrosion, not a massive amount. You can see where a battery has definitely leaked. It's just a case now of figuring out how bad the circuit board is. There's a little bit of corrosion on that variable pot just there. Actually though, it doesn't look too bad, so that's encouraging. Quite often if you've got battery leakage, well, I haven't seen the back of the board yet to be honest, but quite often if you've got battery leakage, it'll just wick its way through all of the traces and it can kind of rot the whole thing out. Don't seem to have that issue here, which is all good. There's your transport controls just here, so we'll be mindful of those in a minute, like on push buttons. I guess there's all solenoid controls and what have you. I can see the counter belt, which is obviously in better days, which means that the actual unit probably wouldn't work even if it wanted to at the moment, because I expect the other belts have probably gone as well. Right, okie dokie, if I can figure out where the power comes in, we might be able to just hook this up directly to the benchtop power supply. Okay guys, it looks like I'm drawing a little bit of a blank to be honest at the moment. The multi-plug that comes out of the transformer actually seems to terminate somewhere underneath this board, so I can't trace or track where any of those go. I can't see any obvious sort of battery plus and minus, as it were, to just sort of feed some power directly in. There is a power switch, obviously, as we saw earlier, in this top corner, but that's mounted to a board, so that might need to come out so we can check the voltages to and from that. But in any case, I don't really know what they're supposed to be at the moment, so I'm going to have to go and dig out a service manual for this after all. I was hoping today we could have a quick look inside and maybe have a quick stab at getting it running, but I think ultimately it looks pretty clean enough in here that it will work. We've just got to figure out how to get it all powered up, whether or not we need to take all of the synth and logic boards and stuff out. Incidentally, I did just have a quick look with a multimeter on this transformer here, and I'm getting about 19 volts DC, and I don't know what it's supposed to be. It doesn't say on here, so yeah, need to have a look into that, to be fair, just to check what's what. The fuses in there seem to be okay from what I can tell. So yeah, just having a bit of a fish around really. So I'm going to wrap the video up here. Really, it was just a quick, cheap and cheerful, have a look at it, get it cleaned up, crack it open, see how the general condition inside, and overall I'd say it's quite encouraging. So do stay tuned, and I'll be back soon with an update. I've got to leave it here now because I've actually got a service and repair that I need to actually do, which is here. Pretty cool in its own right, but it's a silver ST3300L, and this one's got a keyboard of sorts in it. It's far less sophisticated. You can't really see much of that there. I'm just poking it in front of the camera. But this radio cassette recorder just needs a quick going through, deep clean, belt change and what have you. So I've got to get on and do that this afternoon. That will be on the channel soon. So anyway, I'll be back with this KX101 soon. So thanks very much for watching. Keep an eye out for updates. They will be coming before too long, I promise you. Stay safe. I'll be back soon. All the best for now. Bye bye.